Hello everyone, Canon Lowy here, and this time with the PLO-01 Tier 10 Polish light tank from the Shishkin tech tree. And this Tier 10 light tank is not only unique because it is the only Tier 10 light tank currently in the game as of 0.18. But just look at the design on this light tank. It is really usually commented on this vehicle that it really looks futuristic, and this tank even has armor angled plating on its gun, which just seems mind-boggling to think about, because I don't think I've seen many other vehicles have angled armor right off of the gun, and just it really does look nice and unique in its design and everything. It kind of, for some reason, to me, whenever I look at this machine, I think of it kind of looks like a mouse tank. I don't know why I think of that, but it just reminds me of the mouse tank from World of Tanks, Minnie Mouse or something, I don't know. But anyways, the PL01 is after the M8 Thunderbolt. However, you can choose any Tier 9 token to unlock the PL01 from that vehicle. These are also the stock values, once again, without any upgrades. Damage is a little bit lower compared to main battle tanks at 579 with stock ammunition. Penetration is 713. That is actually very high, especially since it is not a main battle tank. Main battle tanks usually get about 340 to about 770 on average with their 140 millimeter guns. Like, for an example, on this Challenger to ATDU, it has 730. And of course, the upgraded ammunition has more penetration than this. Its damage per minute is actually pretty good at 5,300. Without any retrofits or upgrades to it. Its hit points is 2,695, which is oddly enough actually the exact same as the M8 Thunderbolt before it, if you choose to unlock the PL01 through the M8 Thunderbolt. So you have the same hit points, which is really kind of odd for me anyway. But the PL01 actually has armor. The M8 Thunderbolt, you can pull off some outer ricochets, but for the most part, it's not known for its survivability, I don't think. Anyways, now the armor on this vehicle, it has 160 times 1.5 on the front for the hull, and 320 times 1.5 on the turret. However, it does get an armor upgrade that we will see in a moment, and it gets a 2.5 modifier versus heat. I know that for the T15 HIFV, I did forget to mention the heat modifier on it, so it's 2.5 for this vehicle and 1.5 versus armor piercing and HE. Its max speed is 70 kilometers per hour, which is pretty good. However, since it is a light tank, it does definitely feel like it lets the tank down for me personally, because since it is a light tank, especially looking at that acceleration of 3.5 seconds, this thing accelerates faster than the T15 does, yet it has a lower top speed. Kind of an odd way how that works, but I feel like if this tank, it would really benefit from having a top speed of maybe 80 plus kilometers per hour because of how high that acceleration is, and since it doesn't have as good of armor as a main battle tank, it definitely needs to rely on its mobility more so compared to main battle tanks. Anyway, its hull traverse speed is really good at 42. Its camo rating, despite it being an actually really large tank, it is actually bigger than a Leopard 2 tank. It has a 32.5% camo rating, and I honestly have no idea how it gets that high of a camo rating for such a big tank. But Polish tank. Okay. View range is kind of low at 385. So it might be hard to spot in this vehicle unless you have a retrofit that increases view range. For gun depression, it has -8 degrees, and the accuracy spread is 0.12. The accuracy spread, it's not terrible, but it's not fantastic either. But this is also the stock values. You can obviously increase that using retrofits and crew skills. The aiming time is pretty long, especially considering it is not a super high caliber gun. It is a 120mm, which is high, the highest of any light tank, but the main battle tanks, some of them have faster aiming times on their stock values of the 140mm cannons that they get, and that's kind of disappointing, but at the same time, it could definitely be worse. And the turret traverse speed at 44 degrees per second, which is not bad. For upgrades, it has the armor pack that I was talking about before. It gets an upgraded 140 millimeters of hull thickness, plus 35% to the hull and turret modifiers, which make it so that the PL01 has a relatively decent armor of about 550 against armor piercing, and against heat it's 900, if I did the math correctly. So for a light tank, it is pretty much the only one that has really good armor. I think the Stingray 2 has okay armor at the front. It has 335 times 1.65 and 225 times 1.65, but I actually have this in the view in my garage. For the Stingray 2, you can easily just dodge the armor by shooting this main viewport type of lookout area here. You can just dodge all of the armor plating by just shooting here, and the PL01 does have its weak points as well, but it's definitely not. It's not that big on the vehicle. This grading here, is the engine, so critical hits whenever you hit that with anything, and this viewport right here. Also, the lower plate is not particularly as well angled as the upper plate, so the lower plate is definitely much weaker. One important thing to note about the PL1 is the turret is actually unmanned, so you take reduced damage in before Balance 2.0 whenever you get hit in the turret, about only 2/3 damage if they shoot you in the turret. What I really like about the visual model of the PL1 is that its armor, especially along its side, it doesn't really get that great of side armor, but I really like vehicles that actually show the armor plating covering all of the side. Some main battle tanks don't necessarily do that, but since the side armor doesn't really seem to be that great anyways, I guess it isn't really that amazing. And since I do not have the tank currently in the garage, I will have to do a test drive in order to kind of see how it performs or at least the maneuverability and the maneuverability of the vehicle and everything like that. I think I did forget to view the upgrade. So unlike my my other kind of reviews of the tank, or looks at the tier 10 vehicles, I'll actually have to go back and do that. Sorry about that. So far, looking at this vehicle, just look how big this vehicle is. This is a Leopard 2A6 right here, and look, this thing is considerably bigger than the Leopard 2A6, and that thing, you know, of course, at being a main battle tank, has a lot better armor than this thing does, and it is better, much bigger than the Abrams tank as well. And just seeing here is the tier 9 M8 Thunderbolt right here, and just to see the size comparisons of these two vehicles, just look at the differences between these things. It's on a hill, and it's not huge. It's not that much taller than the PL01 is. So definitely, when you're playing this vehicle, you will be a much bigger target compared to the M8 Thunderbolt at tier 9. And like I was saying in the garage, this tank does have excellent acceleration and mobility. It's just that I feel personally that this tank, its top speed definitely seems to let it down, because I seem to get up to my top speed pretty easily overall, yet it just, I don't know, I feel that if the vehicle had a higher top speed, like I mentioned, about maybe 80 kilometers per hour or something, that it would definitely feel a lot more maneuverable. Its accuracy seems to be alright on the move, but it definitely has a lot bigger accuracy bloom compared to the Sphinx tank, I think, and the T-15 scout tanks that I previously did a video on. So I don't know. I do like the how this vehicle performs and everything, and its armor is definitely a big plus compared to the tier 9. I'm just, it's mostly the top speed that I get annoyed at whenever I look at this, looking at playing this machine. But besides that, everything else seems to be really solid. The gun performance is, you do get a little bit of bloom when moving and turning, but it doesn't seem to be that bad, especially if you get the crew skills, the gunner crew skills that reduce your dispersion while on the move as well. And I forgot to mention that this thing, I guess, gets rockets in it, but it uses the main gun, so you will have to reload if you switch ammunition instead of that short 1.5 seconds, I think it is, when switching ammunition. It seems to have 1388 penetration, 600 damage. For the most part, vehicles that have rockets and armor-piercing ammunition, they tend to do about the same damage, and therefore I just use armor-piercing anyway, because you don't have to deal with the active protection systems on the higher tier vehicles. And I'll just quickly go up the hill here to see about that 8 degrees of gun depression. The tier 9 definitely gets way better gun depression than the PL01 does. As you can see here on this really steep hill, you pretty much have to go up all the way in order to shoot down on it. On the Sphinx tank with minus 16 degrees, you barely need to show any of your vehicle in order to shoot over that. And I think that's just about everything everything I can think of on the PL1. So, and since I did forget to show the upgrades, I will show those quick here, or at least I'm pretty sure that I forgot to show them. So that's just an idea of how it performs. Obviously I can't really test the armor or anything in the test drive. So Shishkin line. Okay, I think I did show the armor, and then I forgot to show basically everything else. I don't know if I am showing this twice. I do apologize in advance here. Okay, the damage is 579, 713 penetration. Getting the second armor piercing upgrade, you get 29 more damage, 36 more penetration, and the final upgrade you get 43 damage and 54 penetration, and that penetration is really good at 767. That is pretty much, I don't know if it's the second best in the game, but it is definitely really high up there for being armor piercing ammunition. Heat ammunition, you get 760 damage with 656 penetration. And I think World of Warships accidentally showed up there. Yeah, I don't know why it keeps doing that. Okay. Okay, increased suspension improves gun handling, and improved drive sockets increases your acceleration by 5%. You get firepower, mobility slot, armor slot, universal slot, APS, smoke launcher, improved air conditioning, automatic fire suppression, improves firefighting, increases your view range from the 385 to 425, and improves overall accuracy, improved fire control, reducing that aiming time by 20%. I definitely would recommend, now looking at that, either go for the ammunition upgrades first or that upgraded fire control system, reducing that aiming time by 20% from 3.5 to much more manageable 2.9 or somewhere around there. Enhances accuracy on the move by 20%. That will definitely improve the dispersion while on the move in the test. And rate of fire while moving by increased by 5% in the improved autoloader. So I think that is everything for the PL01 tank. And like I said, it seems to be a solid vehicle. I just feel like if it had just a little bit higher top speed, maybe I would definitely use a retrofit that increases your top speed, or at least before Balance 2.0 comes out and changes all of that. So it seems to be a pretty good tier 10.